Hello everyone, and welcome to your channel. I hope you are doing well wherever you are. Today, I will share the most important news stories of the day, along with brief analysis to help you understand what is happening around the world. Stay with me until the end, and let us begin. Important news story from today, December 21st, 2025. Pushpin. There have been widespread protests and violence in Bangladesh following the death of a youth leader in Dhaka, with demonstrations spreading across the capital. Supporters of the late activist clashed with security forces and many protesters entered the Bangladesh Parliament complex. Buildings and vehicles were damaged in violent incidents, and several newspaper offices were attacked during the unrest. In response, the United Nations called for calm and respect for human rights as tensions remained high. India also temporarily suspended visa services in Bangladesh amid the crisis, highlighting regional concern. The protests mark a major moment of political unrest in Bangladesh after the killing of a prominent youth figure triggered widespread anger. Demonstrators pushing into the parliament complex signal a significant escalation beyond ordinary protest activity. Damage to media offices raises serious concerns about press freedom and the safety of journalists. The fact that the United Nations publicly urged restraint suggests international attention and fear of broader instability. Suspension of visa services by a neighboring country shows how the unrest is affecting diplomatic ties and travel. Political violence and property damage could weaken public confidence in government institutions. Security forces being deployed in the capital reflects the severity of the situation and the state's effort to restore order. The involvement of many youth in demonstrations shows how deeply social and political grievances are felt among younger generations. If the violence continues, there could be longer-term impacts on the country's economy and international relations. Overall, the unrest highlights ongoing political tension and the urgent need for dialogue to prevent further escalation. And other news. Israel has launched intense airstrikes and drone attacks across southern Lebanon in recent days, targeting sites it says belong to Hezbollah and militant elements. Lebanese health authorities report that several civilians and militants have been killed or injured in these strikes, heightening tensions near the border. These attacks come at a time when the Lebanese government says the first phase of its plan to disarm Hezbollah fighters south of the Litani River is close to completion. Beirut officials see this progress as a hopeful step toward enforcing a ceasefire agreement with Israel and preventing renewed full-scale conflict. International mediators, including the United States, France, and Egypt, have urged restraint and diplomacy to avoid escalation while the disarmament plan moves forward. The recent air and drone strikes by Israel demonstrate how fragile the ceasefire with Hezbollah remains despite efforts to disarm the militia. Targeting alleged Hezbollah infrastructure is part of what Israel says is a broader campaign to prevent future attacks from Lebanese territory. These operations have unfortunately led to civilian casualties, which could fuel anger and complicate peace efforts. At the same time, Lebanon's assertion that it is nearing the end of the first phase of disarmament reflects a major shift in government policy towards state control of weapons. The plan's initial focus on the area south of the Litani River is significant because that region has historically seen the most conflict with Israel. Beirut's leadership views this progress as a way to meet terms of a truce and reduce the risk of renewed warfare with its powerful neighbor. International involvement in negotiations and monitoring the disarmament process shows how wider powers are invested in preventing escalation. However, continued Israeli strikes may also increase pressure on Lebanon's fragile political system and public support for disarmament. Hezbollah itself has resisted full disarmament so long as it sees ongoing Israeli military actions, complicating diplomatic progress. Overall, the clash between military actions on the ground and political efforts to disarm highlights how delicate peace remains and how easily it could be disrupted. And other important news: Blue Origin made history by sending the first person who uses a wheelchair into space on a suborbital flight. German aerospace engineer Michaela Michi Benthaus reached space aboard the Blue Origin New Shepard rocket and experienced moments of weightlessness. The mission launched from West Texas and lasted about 10 minutes before safely returning to Earth. Blue Origin did not need major modifications to its spacecraft because it was already designed to be accessible for people with reduced mobility. Benthaus's flight highlights growing efforts to make space travel inclusive for people with disabilities. This achievement marks a major milestone in space exploration by showing that physical disability need not be a barrier to space travel. Benthaus's journey demonstrates that commercial spaceflight companies are beginning to design missions with accessibility in mind. Her experience of weightlessness aboard the New Shepard rocket provides inspiration for people with disabilities worldwide. The fact that no major spacecraft modifications were necessary suggests that future space missions can further embrace inclusive design. Space companies partnering with organizations focused on disability inclusion can accelerate opportunities for more diverse crew members. Benthaus's flight could encourage national space agencies to consider more inclusive astronaut programs in the future. Her achievement may also influence how the public perceives people with disabilities and their capabilities in high technology fields. This development follows earlier efforts to include people with different abilities in space research and exploration. The milestone highlights how commercial spaceflight is expanding beyond traditional astronauts to include more everyday people. This historic flight is a step toward making space travel more inclusive and accessible for all humans. These were the most important news stories of today. Thank you for your attention. If you would like to support programs like this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support gives me the motivation and energy to continue creating this kind of content. Please share your comments, feedback, and suggestions in the comment section to help improve the program. Thank you for your attention, and until our next news update, goodbye.